Good morning. Here you have, especially listen, the morning chorus in the Burren, County Clare, the west coast of Ireland. There's a cuckoo in the distance. I'm not sure if you can hear the cuckoo. This is hazel, the hazelnuts. Yesterday I met a hazel taking care of elderly people, some of them very close to 90 or above. Extraordinary person, extraordinary care. Hazelnuts, we used to gather these, lots of hazelnuts in these woods, and then you have this rock formation of limestone, which the scientist tells us indicate that this whole area was under the sea for long aeons. There's some beautiful lines today in the scriptures. There's the story of the woman about to have a child, and it's called labor for good reason. Maybe it's the greatest labor in the physical world, to bring to life a new human being. According to ancient wisdom, a new human being is called of greater account than the entire material universe. Look at this rock here. I remember as a teenager being fascinated with the amount of energy, physical energy, that would be in a fistful of this rock as one stone. And the scientists tell us, after Einstein's formula, that energy and matter are basically the same. And that's where the whole idea of nuclear energy, nuclear fission first of all, but much more energy, nuclear fusion, joining the atoms like happens in the sun that's rising. That's why we see light, because of the fusion of the hydrogen atoms into helium. And the thought of the mega amounts of energy just in just imagine 1 square foot of this stone, enough to fuel the whole of Ireland. Maybe it was one of the thoughts that just occurred to me now when I was a teenager. I wanted to develop nuclear fusion. Crazy, wild dream. But it's okay for kids to have dreams. Here you have a nice view of the whole chain of the Burren Hills. That's what people call them, but when you're here they call them mountains, because that's what we have. You hear the cuckoo? So this mother then that gives birth is filled with joy. And she no longer remembers the pain because of her joy. As a child has been born into the world. And I had the blessing of seeing one of my newborn grandnephews on Sunday. Such a tiny little guy. And he has a younger first cousin born just over less than 2 weeks ago. So 2 grandnephews, the tenderness of them, that life and the joy of the mother, and seeing our child. You also are now in anguish, but I will see you again and your hearts will rejoice. No one will take your joy away from you. That's one of the challenges with joy, that it's fleeting many times. The joy of certain circumstances, but the deep joy that will last forever. I started going to school in the very early 60s, probably 62, cycling on this road with my sister a year younger than me. And the road hadn't been finished yet. It was packed gravel. And all this nature each day. Some days windy and rainy, some days dry and sunny. There we have people flying. Maybe this one here is flying in from America, which you see on the left of center. And then you have one coming towards us. Who knows where it's heading from? Somewhere in Europe maybe. Coming from the east. And obviously heading to America because it's making a straight line for the Atlantic Ocean. Oh, here we have some primroses. Lots more here. This camera has a time adjusting from one view to another. Look at these red ones in here, reddish ones. Let's get some on the other side of the road. They're beautiful. locals call this High Street. My sister-in-law was wondering the other day if we gave that name to the street, but I was with a man who was a little bit shy of 90, and he called it High Street spontaneously in conversation last evening. And so that confirmed that it goes back a long time. It's not our invention. Same kind of rock here. So that line then summarizes like this: you will grieve, but your grief will become joy. How we need to hear that. A lot of grief in our world, a lot of sadness. Your grief will become joy. So many families have a share of grief. These are ferns. So beautiful the way they unfurl. Unfurling ferns. And friendly for children. We used to, when they'd grow tall, we'd make little houses underneath them, or just burrow our way under the forest of ferns that grew to be about 3 or 4 feet high, maybe more, 5 feet sometimes. The friendly forest of unfurling ferns. And here we have this one, and I don't remember the name of this, unfortunately. It's probably like something related to the flowers of, well, it's not really clover, it's another one. What's another name for this? I don't remember. And there you have little hazel coming along as well. Look at the leaves. When I was a child, we heard that experts were coming from universities to study the flora and fauna of the Burren. It's a very unique topography, close to the sea, the fringe of the Atlantic Ocean. Well, I just saw a bunch of these red flowers over here. Lots of them. Maybe we can get some real close up. They're all over this area here. We find some closer up, I'm sure, to the wall. I think I saw some here the other day. Yeah, lots of them. I see some close here. There's a gate over here. Yeah, there's some here. Let me see if this gate is... I can open this gate. A classmate had this farm, but he was sadly taken out by cancer about 27 years ago. So these are the flowers I wanted to show you. They grow here wild in the Burren. The one I would love to show you is the Gentian violet, which is very rare. It's only found here and in Switzerland. but I don't know where I will locate them right now. And the ordinary briars that have the good blackberries, blackberries we call them, and they were ripe. So here you can see the ground close up. Look at this little flower here, so small. So just imagine one of these stones. I don't have I have the formula. E equals mc squared. So m is the mass, so this is more than a kilo. And the energy is mc squared. C is the power of the speed of light multiplied by the mass and squared. And that's the amount of energy in a pound or a kilo of limestone. It's fascinating to think that you could turn that into energy. How much energy is hidden here. There's a lot of energy hidden in each heart of each person, much more than EMC squared. And that's why that line today of the gospel is so powerful. Your grief will be turned to joy. Heavy traffic this morning. When we used to go to school back in the early 60s, we'd meet such heavy traffic, but 1 or 2 cars every week on the way to school and back. And there we had 4 cars now in a minute. This flower is an amazing design. Let's see if we can get it in focus. That looks like a little damage, is it? Or a little cross fertilization. The lines, the structure, the beauty, the color, the fertility. So much in each flower. And new ferns coming along. And the Creator loves us and knows all our tears. In fact, there's a line in the Psalms which says he gathers up all our tears in his bottle. An incredible image. And we found some of those tear bottles when we were doing the excavations at Magdala, at the Sea of Galilee. They used to gather the tears of those mourning, and they'd be put in at the burial of the person. So beautiful thought. I came over here because I saw more of these flowers. Thought you might like to see them growing wild here. Maybe we can walk across through this little bit of rock here before we finish off. Oh, there's another type of plant and flower. And again, I don't know the name, forgive me. And look at these little, they're like little ferns, aren't they? And the moss. We used to love playing with the moss as children, so soft. And this is an ant hill. And here there are thousands of ants at home. They have their little city, their high rise. Just to give you an idea of volume of height. So it's about 1.5 feet high maybe, or less. The ant hill. Amazing, coming out of the middle of the rocks. You know, some hearts are turned to stone, but you'd be surprised the flowers and the vegetation of love that can grow out of hardened hearts eventually. That's why it's never a waste to say a prayer for somebody with a hardened heart. Your grief will be turned to joy. Sometimes the hardened hearts are aggressive and harsh, maybe verbal violence, maybe even sometimes they strike with a tight fist, hopefully just on the table, hopefully with a sledgehammer on a rock. But sometimes maybe even humans suffer from each other. But those hardened hearts can change because they're suffering a lot internally. A lot of pressure, a lot of woundedness, a lot of hurt carried for years. And we pray also that their grief will be turned to joy and that we can all have that heavenly feast forever, where the sun will never set. Although we'd like to see sunsets as well, wouldn't we? I'm sure there'll be a way. So we leave it like that for today. You saw my shadow, so since I'm not filming live, I can't turn the camera around. At least I don't know how to do it. I wish you many blessings and a bright sunshine in your heart today.